Welcome to CrossViewRadio, a podcast for Wayne County. I'm John Marino, pastor of CrossView Church in Orrville. We exist to glorify God by exalting Christ and magnifying the gospel for the joy of all nations. Well, I'm excited about today's episode because this is the first of 7 episodes that I'll be posting where we hosted a community event responding to a community question. Our church was recently asked what contribution we could make to the ongoing drug crisis in our community. And so we responded first by writing something that we call the Orrville Statement, which can be found online at orrvillestatement.com. We then wanted to take those values and host a community event that would be really the practical outworking of that statement. And so this past Saturday, June 21st, we had this event that we called the Orrville Forum. We had several speakers, each address a different topic from a Christian perspective in answering this question. And I figured the best place to post this would be right on our podcast feed. And so what I'm going to do is over the next 7 episodes here, we will simply post the audio from that event and make that available to you. I took the first session, which is the introduction, and here it is. In the fall of 2023, I was asked what contribution we could make as a church to the ongoing drug crisis in our community. And as I surveyed the institutions that were engaged in the battle, there were 2 observations that became immediately apparent to me. First, most institutions are preoccupied with finding a cure rather than prevention. In other words, we've waited until the seed of addiction has germinated, grown, flowered, and produced fruit. Preventing fires in the first place is better than putting out fires that have already started, so why isn't anyone focused on prevention? Second, there was a significant and is a significant amount of disagreement on the underlying causes of addiction. Therefore, the response, even in our own community, is far from united. Everyone agrees that addiction is bad, but nobody agrees on what to do about it. This disagreement does not end with the layperson. The disagreement ascends to the highest levels of academia in medicine, psychology, and psychiatry. For instance, if one adheres to the psychoanalytic school of thought after Freud, one would have a tendency to think of the problem in terms of subconscious conflict. And then the goal in that school of thought is to help the person have insight or better education. If one adheres to the behavioristic school of thought after John Watson and B.F. Skinner, one would have the tendency to think of the problem in terms of bad teaching or bad environment. One must solve the problem, therefore, by putting the person in a good environment. Government subsidized housing, cleaning up a town, after-school programs, whatever it may be. If one adheres to the humanistic school of thought after Carl Rogers, one would tend to think of the problem in terms of unmet needs. The goal of counseling then would be to encourage self-esteem, self-love, and self-actualization. If one adheres to the materialistic school of thought beginning in the 1960s, one would tend to think of the problem in terms of a chemical imbalance in the brain. The goal that would then be biological homeostasis by the use of psychotropic medication. The problem here should be obvious. Each psychologist, psychiatrist, counselor, or therapist will give you a different prescription based on what their underlying assumption and bias is. If Skinner is right, then medicine won't be a cure. And if Rogers is right, then laying down on a shrink's couch won't be a cure. And if Freud is right, then helping someone increase their self-love won't be a cure. And if the chemical imbalance theory is right, then putting someone in a good environment won't be a cure. Bessel van der Kolk, author of best-selling book The Body Keeps the Score, says this: understanding what is wrong with people currently is more of a question of the mindset of the practitioner and of what insurance companies will pay for than of verifiable objective facts. Van der Kolk is not, to my knowledge, a Christian, and I'm not endorsing his book by any stretch, but it does demonstrate that even the professionals at the highest levels disagree with the problem and the cure. What if we could prevent addiction before it starts? What if there was a way to eliminate it while it was in seed form before it produced any rotten fruit? And the answer to that question is we believe there is. There is a way to prevent it before it starts. And not only this, we would suggest that there is a way to prevent the overwhelming majority of societal ills that we face today as a community. And of course, this is a bold claim, and we intend to make that case today. And so we're going to ask this in the form of a question today for the forum. And the question is simply this: what if we could stop addiction before it starts? I want to ask a second question, because this second question, the answer we believe is the same to both. And some of the sessions today may kind of go waver between these two questions, go back and forth between the two questions. And this second question is this: what produces flourishing communities? What is it that creates the good life? Our initial response to this question was to write what we call the Orrville Statement. This statement, of course, you've probably all read it, can be found online at orrvillestatement.com. Today's event, the Orrville Forum, is an attempt to take those values and make those values practical. So let me give you a little bit about what to expect today. If you look at the outline in front of you, if you don't have one, by the way, they're on the back table there, you can grab one. You'll see that we have 5 different speakers, some of which have more than one session. To keep things moving, each speaker is going to go for 15 minutes. Kelsey's got 30 minutes because we put his 2 back to back. But 15 minutes per session. Consequently, it's going to be more of an introduction to these themes, and we hope to explore them further in the future. And I say explore them more in the future because our hope is to begin something in Orrville following this event that we hope will be a blessing to our community. And so without giving away too much of the sessions, the data clearly points to the fact that healthy homes create healthy societies. And healthy homes are comprised of healthy individuals, specifically healthy fathers investing in the lives of their wives and children. And so on the back of your flyer today, if you turn it over, you'll see that there's a QR code you can scan to get more information on this. And this future event is what we're calling the Orrville Mission. We also have a card in the back. We have a little drop box in the back there that you can put a card in if you'd rather do that instead of scanning the code. Our desire and hope is to create a brotherhood here in Orrville where we can encourage one another and ultimately point one another to Christ and the values that create healthy societies. In addition to the Orrville Mission, I want to give you a couple of other organizations here today. Steve Grover is here today with Come to the Well. See him afterwards if you have questions about biblical counseling, as well as Matt Domenico over here with BCI, Biblical Counseling Institute. And so you can see them in the breaks if you have questions on being certified with biblical counseling or receiving biblical counseling or anything like that. My son and I are involved in an organization called Trail Life USA, and I have a table back here with that. Doesn't have to be that organization, but just trying to put in front of you good organizations that encourage families to be together. Part of the practical aspect of today's event is to equip you to get in the trenches and to help fight the battle together. Also, want to let you know that we have some books available for you in the back here. So the CrossView Church's table is back here, and we're just asking a $5 donation if you're able to with those. I don't know what these guys have on their books, but they've got some books out there as well for you. Light refreshments over here. Take advantage of that, please. Feel free to take as much as you like over there. Okay. Today's forum may seem a little bit out of place, perhaps. We are accustomed to churches throwing candy in the parade, handing out water bottles at the park, face painting at the fair, and donating funds to charity. We've participated in similar things as a church. But speaking into issues like addictions and societal values is not so common coming specifically from the church today. Many people believe that these issues are more appropriately left to the quote-unquote professionals. We believe that the church has something to say to these issues, and I hope that this will kind of become clear as we go through the different sessions today. Just a couple examples to kind of whet your appetite here at the beginning. Just last month, a significant study on divorce was released from the National Bureau of Economic Research. This study surveyed a massive 5 million children, okay, asking what effect divorce had on them. And I'm going to give you a couple of quotes here from the study. Children whose parents split before the age of 5 face significantly reduced earnings as adults and an increased risk of teen pregnancy, incarceration, and even premature death. The research released this month highlights how a family breakup often triggers long-lasting economic and social ripple effects. The study found that children whose parents divorced before they turned 5 had on average 13% lower income by age 27 compared to peers whose parents stayed together. Divorce increases teen births by 73% and mortality by age 25 by 35%. It also significantly drives up rates of incarceration by about 43%. And it drives up mortality by 35 to 55% at divorce, with higher levels persisting for at least 10 years. This is just one variable of the many that we will discuss today that indicates how specifically the values of a society has an impact on the health of the society. You are more than the sum total of the chemicals in your brain. There's more to you than that. Christian values, specifically Christian values articulated in Scripture, change lives and society for the better. The health of any society is tied not to its brain chemistry, but to its values, beliefs, and behaviors. And I would suggest to us that we are where we are today, specifically because of the massive shift in the beliefs, values, and behaviors of society. Just consider that we were not always here. According to data from the CDC going back to 1960, and I have a chart going back to 1900 as well, but this one's going back to 1960, drug-related deaths are on the rise exponentially. And it just took off there, especially in the early 2000s. I bring this chart up only to say that whether or not you agree with the diagnosis today, something has changed. It is possible for a society to live without these kinds of enslaving addictions. Whatever we have been doing as a society has not worked, and we need to do something different. I'll leave you with one more thing here. Dr. Bruce Alexander, psychologist, atheist, and professor, made this observation about addiction. Today's rising tide of addiction to drug use and 1,000 other habits is the consequence of people, rich and poor alike, being torn from the close ties of family, culture, and traditional spirituality that constituted the normal fabric of pre-modern times. Dr. Alexander says that the problem is not brain chemistry, but fragmented societies. When societies lose the common values and virtues and families and churches that bind them together, they become fragmented and atomized. And when you have atomized societies, addictions increase. Our nation is becoming increasingly fragmented and atomized. Nothing binds us together anymore. No longer are homes held together by common values and beliefs. The father, the mother, the children all have wildly differing political, religious, and moral values. People are turning to Reddit and the internet to find community among strangers that they've never met before. Our atomized society has not helped us, it has hindered us. And our goal and hope and prayer is to bring our community back together centered around Christ. We believe that He is sufficient and can give us the grace that we need to flourish as a community. And so I welcome you to today's event, the Orrville Forum. And so I'd like to call Matt Timmons up now, pastor of Hopewell Ashland, for his session. Thanks for listening to CrossView Radio. I'm John Marino, pastor of CrossView Church in Orrville. We meet Sundays at 9 a.m. To find out more about CrossView Church, visit us online at crossvieworville.com.